The main thing these last 3 auras from the Paladin Defensive tree have in common is that a lot of players misunderstand just how useful each of them are, with Defiance being a handy tanking buff, Vigor being one of the best movement skills in the game, and Redemption being a full-blown pocket rejuvenation potion. These are also, interestingly enough, 3 auras that have the distinguishing characteristic of being used more often from equipment than from the skill slot itself. Starting with the most basic, we have Defiance, available both from an Act 2 mercenary as well as the Exile rune word. Defiance provides a general percent buff to defense, much like Might provides for damage. One of the most common myths about this skill is that it has a passive bump to character defense, but unfortunately this is not true. The reality is it has a synergy linking it back to Holy Shield, which boosts the defense gain of Holy Shield itself. And since Holy Shield is considered a must-have for paladins, you can see how this myth was born. Now, in terms of how useful Defiance is, this really depends on how much defense you have from gear, and where you have your percent defense boost contributing to it. If you have low defense, or most of your defense comes from those off-armor percent sources, such as something like a Fortitude weapon, then you'll see a far smaller gain from this since it's stacked with off-armor percents, and if there isn't a large base to work with, then it won't give a large bonus. There is also a big glaring factor of whether you're running or walking, since running will actually make Defiance entirely useless. On the subject of running though, we have another aura, Vigor, a handy aura that boosts the movement speed of all characters affected by it, and most often found coming off of either a paladin trying to zip through an area quickly if they don't have charge, or off of someone using a rogue mercenary with a harmony bow. Now, run walk can get complicated and have a whole guide of its own, but to keep it simple, run walk from equipment has diminishing returns, while run walk from skills do not. So you'll notice a bigger increase from 30% Vigor than you will from 30% boots. Though with a hard cap of 50%, Vigor will only contribute so much, and with the skill itself giving less for each level, it's usually best to treat it as a 1-point wonder, and let plus skills do the rest, since even at level 4, you're halfway to its maximum potential. The other useful but less recognized aspect of Vigor is the stamina fixes it has, with a boost to maximum stamina and stamina recovery. These can be handy in some circumstances, such as against stamina burn enemies while you're trying to zip through the woods of Act 3, but for the most part this won't be a major concern as you get later in the game and have plenty of stamina to begin with. That is, unless you're using the skill to overcome heavy or medium armor stamina drains, which even then isn't really that heavy of a burden. The last aura, and probably my favorite skill of the entire defensive aura tree, is also sadly one of the most often overlooked. It's Redemption, an aura that I commonly talk about as pocket rejuvenation potions, but also pulls double duty as a corpse removal tool for everything from Neelathak to just shutting down annoying mummies and shamans who love reviving their little friends, and even as a tool against Pindleskin and his friends. The way this aura works is that every 2 seconds it scans the area around the paladin for corpses, and it has a percent chance of consuming those corpses in exchange for a fixed amount of life and mana, from 25 per corpse consumed at level 1 up to hundreds as it scales up fairly quickly at 5 points per level, though I find 1 point, with plus skills of course, to usually be far more than enough due to how many corpses Diablo 2 likes to throw at us, and even at level 5 you have more than a 50% chance of eating a given corpse. In addition to quickly topping you off with health and mana, this also, as mentioned earlier, prevents those corpses from being used for anything else, whether that's corpse explosions, revivals, summoning skeletons, or even less common stuff like vine consumption on a druid. So you may not want to use it around your necro friends while they're building their armies, but it is exceptionally useful for solo runs and is one of a number of reasons why I love using Phoenix shields on so many characters when it fits in the build. So that wraps up the defensive auras. If you missed the aura you're looking for, you can find links to some of them on screen now and the playlist that shows all the finished skill guides so far. If your favorite one is missing, stick around and it will be coming soon. And as always, a special thanks to the channel members and patrons who keep the channel running and who should be keeping an eye out for another poll fairly soon.